Today we're just starting chapter 7, which has to do with triangle similarity. And so with chapter 7, there's going to be a lot of ratios and proportions we have to set up. So that's what the first section is. It's on ratios and proportions. So a ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. So you write that like A divided by B or A to B. So the division symbol also means the word two, and these dots mean the word two. And then you have a proportion, which is two ratios that are equal. So a proportion would look like this, where there's an equal sign in the middle. So your first question on notes says, what is the difference between a ratio and a proportion? So the difference between a ratio and a proportion is a proportion has an equal sign, whereas a ratio does not. So go ahead, you can take a second to pause the video and fill out that first question. For example 1, we have members of the school band are buying pots of tulips and pots of daffodils to sell at their fundraiser. They plan to buy 120 pots of flowers. The ratios of tulip pots to daffodil pots will be 2/3. How many pots of each type of flower should they buy? So what we're going to want to do here, we're going to first start with our ratio. So we know that we have tulip pots to daffodil pots. And then we have to fill in the numbers that go along with that. So it says that the ratio is 2/3. So I just put that in order, 2 to 3. And what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to figure out, we don't know how much, so we're going to just put X's on each of them. So that's how many pots we're going to have. And so to figure out the total amount of pots, we're going to add our tulip pots and our daffodil pots. So we're going to do 2x plus 3x equals our total number of pots, which is 120. So again, we just get that from the word problem. And from here, you're going to combine like terms. So 2x plus 3x is 5x and divide by 5. So we get x equals 24. However, that's not what we're trying to find. We're trying to figure out how many tulip pots there are and how many daffodil pots. So up here, I have to plug in 24. So I'm going to plug in 24 and I get 48 tulip pots. And then do the same on the bottom. I have to do 3 times 24. And that is going to give me 72 daffodil pots. So make sure in your notes you have all of this work written down. For example number 2, you need to solve a proportion. So what I would like you to do is you're going to write cross multiply somewhere along example number 2 and circle it. So whenever you have an equal sign in the middle of two fractions, you cross multiply. So remember, that just means you cross over the equal sign and you multiply. So if we do 15 times m, we get 15m. And then we get equals 3 parentheses m plus 8. So sometimes there'll be more than one number here, and you'll have to distribute. So that's what we have to do in this example. So I'm going to do 15m equals 3m plus 24. And then I'm going to solve for m. So again, remember, your work should match my work in your notes. And so then we get m equals 2. So anytime you're asked to solve a proportion, you're going to cross multiply. And you might have to distribute depending on, again, how many numbers are here. And our last example, we're skipping example 3. There is no example 3. So the last example says that a ratio of the length to width of a rectangle is 3 to 5. The width of the rectangle is 20, so you have to write and solve a proportion to find the length. So what we're going to do is we're going to first start with our words. So we have length to width. So remember, we're going to start with length, and then this division bar, that's the word 2. And then we're going to put width at the bottom. So this is just going to tell us where we're going to set everything up in our proportion. We have to make sure all the numbers and letters match. So it says it's 3 to 5. So again, I'm going to do 3 to 5. And then if we look here, we have the width is 20. So if I'm looking to do the width, down here, the width is on the bottom. So that means I'm going to put 20 on the bottom. And I'm going to put the length, which is that's what I'm trying to find. So that's going to be my x. That will go on top. And then again, we're going to just solve the proportion. So when we solve a proportion, you cross multiply. So you have 20 times 3, which is 60, equals 5x. And then divide by 5. So you get x equals 12. So the length then is 12 feet.